Showtime.
I'm leaving that in. Hey guys, welcome back, and this is going to be part two of obviously the MLS defensive stacks that we are doing with myself again, with me and Jonesy. There we go. We're going to go straight into it because obviously the last video was quite long. It's probably going to be very similar here, so get a brew and probably your dinner and just sit down and chill. We've got £4.50 here from Matt Freeze here at New York City. And also in rare, he is £45. Again, Jonesy, what are we thinking about him? He's obviously half decent. He's 26, going to come into some sort of proper form and peak uh, form
Yeah.
over the next year. What are we thinking, then, lad? What are we thinking?
Yeah, he's a massive part of New York City. Usually he keeps them in games. If you can see by his scores, a couple of 90s, 80s, 70s in there, he keeps them keeps them together. Um, I am a New York City stack holder. So I know how good he can be. Just I don't know if New York are that good defensively, which we'll come on to in a second, but he's a very good goalkeeper, and he obviously been tipped to get into the US men's national team. So there's that's a benefit for him. Again, New York were very good at home, but very poor away, which is kind of a trend in the MLS. Again, if he keeps clean sheet, you're looking at sometimes getting over that 70 mark, and sometimes into the 80s and 90s. It just didn't happen as often last season, I think, as it did the season before. So again, it's all going to be dependent on how well he does this season. This is probably going to be his sort of like make it year, make it his own. But yeah, I know a lot of New York people say that he's like pivotal to the team. Like you can't if you take him out, then they're probably going to finish like near the bottom. But yeah, they've always consistently got into playoffs, so they've got that going for them. I think £45.87 is a little bit steep, a little bit steep. Last sale average is 20. I think that's a little bit cheap. I think he's probably around about a 30 to 35 mark for me.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I own him. I like him. He's young, got potential. He has been linked with a couple of Europe moves. So yeah, a lot of promise from Matt Freese. Um, I know you're not as high up as him as me and maybe Ellis are, but um, that's just my take on him. I like him a lot.
Yeah, you summed it up. They were all good. How about the defender alongside him? Again, we were had different opinions on this. I
Yeah, we did.
chose is it Tyvon Gray? Is that his name? Tyvon Gray?
Tavon Gray,
Tyvon Gray,
yeah.
who is I believe the right back for New York, scored quite decently, but instead you forced me at will at gunpoint to pick Thiago Martins. Explain why we did that.
So Tavon Gray is a great option because he's very cheap and he's under 23, I think, for another year or two, and he does get forward. Now, the only problem with Tavon Gray is he doesn't always start because they have a Lenich as the backup, who is also a very, very promising young right back coming through.
Mhm.
Thiago Martins obviously will be the starter. He's the when you look onto our inside for Deek again, shout out to Deek, follow him on Twitter at SoraDeek. Hit Martins and Freese and Kevin O'Toole, the left back, are the only three 90%ers in the back line.
Mm.
So you got the two of the 90%ers. That's why we went with Thiago Martins. He didn't score as well last season as he did again the season before, but that was a trend with New York because he weren't as good last season as they were the season before. So hopefully he can just start hitting those higher scores again. As you can see, not great. It's like 660 to 70 scores and 170 plus. Did lack on the decisive side again last season. But again, playoff team, normally in the playoffs constantly. So yeah, they got that going for him. You get the extra utility, the extra 4 or 5 games that they get. So and again, £3.16 for Martins, and if you do buy Brees at his current price point, which I did say is a bit steep, you're getting the pair for under £50. It's not too bad, to be honest. It's not amazing, but not too bad. It just depends on how they do this season. They've not really
Mm.
lost anything, but they've not really brought anything in either.
Yeah. Do you want to take us on to the next team?
We can do. Let's have a look. It's New York
Oh.
Red Bulls. It's a
Mm.
team that's constantly up and down. Yeah, obviously Carlos Coronel has been the starter there for a long time, even though I think did he take an injury last season? Oh no, sorry, that's his international games that are the DMPs because obviously he's a goalkeeper for Paraguay, but isn't the starter. He's the bench goalkeeper, so you'll see a lot of DMPs in there, and that might put
He's
people
the
off him.
backup for Brazil, mate.
Oh yeah, sorry, it's just because he got Paraguay there, so I thought that's strange. Are you sure he's the backup for Brazil? Because he got Paraguay versus Argentina, Paraguay versus Bolivia, Paraguay versus Venezuela, Paraguay versus Ecuador,
Oh,
Paraguay versus Brazil, Paraguay versus. I think he's the backup for Paraguay, mate.
oh, it could be then because I thought because his internationality on here is
Yeah, I think he
Brazilian.
might have changed international. I don't think he's getting in as the backup for Brazil when they've got Allison and Edison.
That's true. I never thought about that. Yeah, fair enough.
So yeah, I think he might have a change in nationality then. Again, scheduled for another international game there against Chile, which will probably be a DMP again as the backup. But yeah, I don't mind Coronel. What is his current price point? We're looking £4.29 in limited and 37 in rare. Yeah, I probably have him on the same sort of like wavelength as Matt Freese, around that 35 to 40 mark, maybe even a bit cheaper. He
Mm.
does come up with some good scores. They're not the best defensively. Not sure if you like him too much though, do you?
No, I do. I do.
You do like Coronel.
I like Coronel. Yeah, he's someone I was eyeing up for the start of the season initially. The only thing that put me off was I thought initially he was trying to be like second or third goalie for Brazil at the time. Obviously, now we've learned that it's Paraguay because there's a lot of DMPs there, which is obviously him traveling with the Paraguayan team.
Yeah.
That's why he's the price he is. Otherwise, if he had, because this is too cheap for a goalie who came runner up in the MLS last season. So yeah, he obviously can peak. New York Red Bulls did really well again last season. Like I said, became runners up. Gets quite a few clean sheets, especially even towards the back of the season. Some decent AA alongside it. Yeah, I think he's overall a good goalie, but
Yeah, the only
because yeah,
small worry you got to have is that when he does go and travel with Paraguay, because the MLS carries on, he misses some utility there in the MLS. Obviously, when we look at Solar Inside for Deke, he's got him at 90%, no competition really for him. So it's just those you might need to get the backup in for those game weeks where he does go
mhm.
away with Paraguay. But other than that, he looks pretty solid, and he gets second place in the MLS last season in the cup as well. So moving on to who we partnered it up with. We had a good chuckle about this one, but it's Sean Nealis, not to be mistaken as Cap does with John Nellis, the famous YouTuber. But no,
Sean
what's your thoughts
Ellis.
on Sean Nealis? I quite like Sean. I've had him for a long time, but what's your thoughts?
Yeah, again, just a solid enough player. Really, I mean, there's nothing really all too special about him. AA of well, what is it without the subs? It's once it does it 11.9, which is again quite respectable. Um, yeah, I mean, it's just a an okay from an okay bunch really. To me, he's not really a standout. 28 again, meant to really come into his peak. Cheap enough at 45p in limited and £4 in rare. Again, no harm in trying. Him and Coronel, you can get him for what, 40 quid, 45 quid for the two.
Yeah,
So that's not bad at all, is it? And probably again for in season wise, it's probably going to be no more than £20, I'd assume. Obviously, this is before the in season cards are released, but yeah, I've got not much say on him really, mate. To be honest.
yeah, just a solid 60 plus scorer, isn't he? Really, 860 plus games in 31. It's not amazing, but it's not poor. Should do a good pairing with Coronel. I believe he is captain as well of New York Red Bulls. Someone might correct me in the comments, but oh no, he's not captain. Sorry, Lewis Morgan's captain. I think he's vice captain. I think he's vice. He did take the armband
Uh,
for a few games last
Sorry
season.
guys, I brought the wrong co-host on. So
Yeah,
many,
I'm
isn't
pretty
there?
sure Morgan. I'm pretty sure Morgan is the captain. Again, I might be wrong there. I'm sure I've seen Nealis with the armband. But yeah, that takes us on to the next team. Now, this is a team that's a bit more promising, and they've got two very good options here that we've picked from. It is Orlando City with Pedro Gales, who was linked away, actually. We must mention that he was linked away, but isn't going to go. I like Pedro Gales. I've mentioned him to you that if I was to go in season, he'd be one of the keepers I would eye up as picking up because of obviously in 50 games he's got 22 decisive, I think it is. He does have a few errors leading to goal, which is a bit of a meh, and he has an own goal as well. But yeah, when you look at his scoring, wow, 22 60 plus games with two in the 80s, nine in the 70 plus, which is what I said before to target with the goalkeeper. And he's international, isn't he? Yeah, he
True.
is. He's an international goalkeeper for Peru, so you've got that going for you as well if you do want to use him on those international breaks. I don't really see a lot wrong with him. What do you think?
No, I'm on the exact same boat as you. Like, again, initially he was someone I was eyeing up, but there was rumours at the time that he was being eyed up by in the Peruvian league. Um, So that's why I obviously never went for him in the end. But again, 34 years old isn't even that old as well, especially for a goalkeeper. Sitting at £5 in the limited and 37 in classic. Sorry, yeah, in classic rare. Again, I think is a very respectable price.
Very good
Very good
price. Yeah.
price as well, especially like I said, very probably the most consistent scores we've even shown even on in part one, which you hopefully gone and liked and watched, guys. Thank you very much. But yeah, he solid. He's got that international utility as well, which is nice. Does look like he gets the game every now and again with Peru rather than being the out and out starter. I mean, last
Yeah.
recently he got the DMP with them, so who knows with that. But other than that, mate, yeah, I think you summed it up. Very decent, solid goalkeeper, especially for the price.
Yeah, the price point's great. I think the price point is perfect. Especially, I think it's cheap. I have him in my top five, so I would have him up at the Kalinja price point of like the 50s, and you can get him in classic for 37. So yeah, I can't see really anything. I can't really have anything bad to say about him. Maybe the errors leading to goal are a bit naff, but 22 decisives.
To be fair, 50 games
Oh,
though. I mean, you can let them off a bit. We've seen them
yeah,
have a couple of error to goals and they do it in 30, 40. So, but to go alongside him, 80, we've gone for Rafael Santos, someone you told me to get in the rare for quite a while.
yeah,
Sitting at £12 and limited is £1.60. Again, very solid. Again, yeah, good L5 on him. Probably why he's gone up in price. Again, if you didn't see part one, make sure to do so because I had a little theory. So make sure to check that. But yeah, I'll let you speak on him mostly because you asked me to get him. But from the scores, I can see somewhat why.
I think the first question we ask is, did you pick him up?
People watching this right now can see I do not. I do not own any cards of Rafael Santos right there.
Well, I've got the 2 of 100, which I picked up for about £6, I think. So I've made a nice little hefty profit on him when I do come to sell him. But I think the main talking point here in his scores is how he finished last season, and obviously you wanna kick on from how he finished last season. You know, it's like how many games did he play there? Is it about 10 where he hit? Maybe a bit more than 10, but he was hitting constant 80 plus scores and couple of 70s in there, which
Mm-hmm.
are nothing to shy away from. But before that, he was like in and out of the squad. So if you look at his previous games, he was sub, got start, sub, start. He was a bit in and out of the squad. But then when it got to crunch time at the end, and I think Orlando got to the playoffs, he was the starter. Obviously had an awkward game against New York Red Bulls, but before that, assists, a couple of assists, a goal, some nice AA as well on top of that. Yeah, I think these two are my favourite pairing. I would say.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm quite a big fan of Gillespie, and especially when you can get the pair for just under £50. I can't even complain at that, especially when some of the goalkeepers we've shown are over £50.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's in classic, obviously, and I think he'll be quite cheap in season. I don't think Gillespie will be quite cheap in season, but I think Santos will be one of the cheaper options in season. Um, I can't really give a price because they've not been released yet, but yeah, this is my favourite pairing. I would say Orlando, definitely.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll move on from Orlando then, and we'll go to Philly. So Red Deek's team again. Make sure to check him out, guys, at So Red Deek on Twitter or X or however you want to call it. He is the one providing all the info in regards to the lineup predictions there up on what was the site called again? So Red Inside. So
Yeah.
make sure to check that out. Andre Blake.
This one,
Andre
yeah, this
Blake.
one's all you.
Yeah.
I'm not too high on Blake's. This one is all you. Take it away.
Yeah, well, I think this is probably one of the best defensive stacks to have. If actually, I won't spoil it, but yeah, but we'll go for Andre Blake. Like I said, sitting at £7 or £6.50 in limited, and in rare, I think it's still cheap. Okay, for £43. You know, I mean, he
Yeah.
puts up some half decent scores last season. Obviously, he had that. I think it's just a long injury out last year, didn't he? I can't even remember what he had done, but he came back and he's scored really well. If we put it over just over the last, how can we do it? No, it doesn't let me. But yeah, over the last year, 7 clean sheets in 23 games. Again, I think is very solid. That's basically 1 in every 3.5, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, again, very solid. And the reason why, and if you're not going to butt in on this one, I'll just go straight to the defender.
Yeah, go for it.
Kai Wagner. Kai Wagner, obviously, again, a Philly. sitting at £12 in limited and just under £62 in the rare. But as you can see, L5 71, L15 64, and L40 of 63. And I mean, scores speak for themselves. He's got more greens than he does light greens and yellows and oranges put together, which obviously just showcases the sort of class this guy has, and how important he is as well for Philly. Obviously, there is a lot of murmurs going about at the moment and rumours floating about that people in Europe wanted him, in Italy, in Germany, in the Championship in England. But thankfully, so far he has stayed. I know there are a couple of other windows left open. I don't know in Europe, but a couple somewhere else. So hopefully he stays. But it looks like he survived another year, or at least next 6 months. But yeah, 12 assists, 1 goal, 1 clearance off the line, or last man tackle in 43. 20.5 worth of AA. It's actually 21 with the one sub appearance coming off, so the 43 starts he's got. Did you want to chime in on anything? Because I think, like I said, I think this is probably the best, if not top 2, 3 defensive stacks you could probably get.
Yeah, then they're not bad. And the problem obviously with Blake is that he can get injuries that he can get injuries that sort of leave him out for quite a chunk of the season. Obviously, nothing against Kyle Wagner. I don't think he's better than Alba personally. Decisive output's not as high. Maybe his AA is a little bit higher. But yes, Philly last season, as Deke would probably admit, that they were pretty poor last season. I know they had a great game against New York, because I watched that one, and they think they put like
You
5 past us.
you wouldn't think that
But
with Kyle Wagner's scores, though. If you just looked at what Wagner's scores, you wouldn't think they had a bad season, would you?
no, he's obviously still done fairly well. I think he has had a little bit of a down season though. A lot of those 60 scores would have probably been in the 80s the season before. Let me just have a quick look.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, so last season, yeah, I think he hit a lot more like 90s to 100s. Quite a bit more than 90s to 100s. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just not high on Philly. No, I'm just not. It's a strange one. Obviously, if you just pick up Kyle Wagner on his own and play him with another goalkeeper, I think you'd probably do a lot better than playing him with Blake. Because the price point for them two, I think, is the most expensive, right?
Yeah, you pay for
Um,
what you get. Yeah, that's for
yeah,
sure.
you pay like over 100 quid for the pairing. Is this better than a £50 Orlando duo? Maybe not by a long shot, I don't think. But yeah, they
It
probably
is.
will accumulate a higher score together than what the two at Orlando would. But I'm higher on Orlando than I am on Philly anyway. Yeah, it's a strange one. I know you love Philly. I know you've not got Wagner, but I'm pretty sure you've got Glesnes, who's someone that I would have probably put in if Wagner had left.
Mm-hmm.
Another alternative option if you want to keep the price down, because Glesnes is only about, is he £6, £7? I think he's about £6 or £7. So obviously him with Blake only comes to 50 quid, which is the same as Orlando, and Glesnes does do well as well. So yeah, all in all, I'm not massively high, and I wouldn't pay £100 for the duo. But on to the next one, because I'm sick of seeing Philly players. We're moving on to Portland Timbers, a team that we're both not massively high on, but you do like Maxim Crepeau. I remember you telling me that you were looking at getting him, and especially obviously his price point is at around about £35, so same as sort of like Gillespie and Fries. So you take it away with Crepeau. What basically enticed you to look into getting him?
Um, I don't remember all too much saying about that. I wanted that. He was someone on my radar.
Yeah, that's what you told me
Only
you were looking.
because at the time he was, as you can see here, his last sale averages 26 and £17 in rare. That's what made me want to go for it. 35 is not worth it. I'd much rather Galise over
Yeah,
in that sort of price bracket, especially that um, he's not even the guaranteed starter, is he? Like he's 80%,
no,
70% maybe. Um,
85% for Crepeau.
exactly. I can't remember who the other backup was, but you can see the other backup was starting the last
Anthony
3 games.
Pantomise is the backup. I can say that they have shared game time, so that could be something that tells of the season. Obviously, in the first friendly, Crepeau started. Pantomise played the second half. Second friendly again, Crepeau started. Pantomise played the second half, and then I think their third friendly was last night. They've just got the first half there against San Jose, which was Crepeau looks like he played possibly the full 90.
Mm.
But yeah, he's only 85%, which I know it sounds high, but if there's any doubt, there is doubt there.
Exactly.
unfortunately.
Exactly. And that obviously puts doubt in your mind for is he going to start and stuff. You just don't really want that. So
Yeah,
at the
exactly.
moment, I'm fairly sure he's going to be the starter. Like I said, if he was to come below £30, then we can maybe talk. Limited price being £3 again, you can't really go all
That's
too
good.
wrong about it.
Yeah,
Scores wise, he actually can score quite well. But can also obviously have some stinkers, and that's unfortunately how the cookie crumbles with MLS goalies. They can just always concede 5 goals one week and then go on a stretch of 3 games without conceding at all. So it's a
yeah,
bit of a weird
very
one.
much. But
But
speaking of doubt, speaking of doubt, I've chosen the defender because I think Cat went for somebody different. Did you go for Mosquera?
you
I
chose
think
Big Star. That's what you chose. But yeah, Claudia Bravo.
you
Um,
chose Zaparic, didn't you? Who was 55%. I've chose Claudio Bravo, who was 50%. I don't know. I'm just quite high on Claudio Bravo. I think his scoring's really good. I don't understand. There's no mention of him leaving or anything. I don't think so. I don't understand why his percentage
mm,
is lower. He did only play 22 games last season. He was out the squad for 11, so I'm assuming that is injuries. But I mean, when he did play, you're looking at 79, 79, 81, 82, 68, 60, 100. I think they're perfectly good scoring to match up with Crepeau. I don't really have a lot to say about him because I can't remember watching him last season when I watched some of the MLS. I don't remember seeing him. But
mm,
again, he's only fiver. I think it's worth a punt at a five. If you get Crepeau for 35 and you get Bravo for five, it's £40 for the duo, which I don't think is bad value. It's not less value, but it's not bad
yeah,
value.
yeah, no, that's true. But yeah, solid. It's still a solid defender nonetheless. But we'll swiftly move on then again because obviously we don't want to make this video as long as the old one.
Yeah,
We have here, I believe it's Raul Salt Lake now, isn't it? We have here an uncovered goalkeeper here of Rafael Cabral, 34-year-olds, just moved to Salt Lake. I know McMath is out injured, so it looks like Cabral is going to be the starter now. I think I think their backup that they brought in is injured also, so it's definitely going to be
yeah,
Cabral. But yeah, as you can see, no limited price, no rare price, nothing there at all. Not all too much to say on his scores because he barely ever started for Gremio. So,
yeah.
did you just want to move on to, unless you know of him, would you want to just move on to
Yeah, I mean, I can say a little bit. Don't buy him. That's what I'm going to say.
the?
Um, the reason why I say I don't buy him is because when it comes to Real Salt Lake, the backup or the original backup is back in I think about a month or two into the season. So there's a chance that he gets replaced by the backup, and then there's a chance then on top of that that when McMath comes back, McMath replaces the backup. So you could end up having to buy three keepers for one slot. And as much as the defender we have paired with him is fantastic, and I do love him because I have a Real Salt Lake collection, unfortunately. Um, like I said, McMath's out for 3 to 5 months. You don't want to have to buy three goalies. No one has to buy it. No one wants to buy three goalies, especially when if you're not keeping up with it and you don't know who's going to be the starter. Because Rafael Cabal will be the most expensive, and then
Yeah,
the backup will come back and play a game, and he'll be the most expensive, and you
and
might end up spending stupid money on three goalies, which is
and
not
can I
necessary.
add as well that he doesn't have a card, so you can only pick up his in season, which will be
Yes,
heavily
exactly.
inflated. So our advice to you, and this ain't financial advice in any of these videos, so make sure you do your research for anyone we show you guys. Um, yeah, we would avoid this one, wouldn't we? But it's a shame
Yeah.
because we like the defender, and the
I like
defender.
McMath as well. I'm big on, I'm high on McMath. I love McMath. That's one of the reasons why I got Salt Lake Stack. But 3 to 5 months injured, and I do love the defender. I'm going to speak about him now briefly because if you're not picking up the goal, there's not really much to say. It's Justin Glad. He's very good. That's all I can say. Really, he's very good. 12 60 plus scores in 29 games. I think he is a captain as well. Um, very, very cheap. £3.39 in rare, 60 or 45p in classic, which is not bad at all. Does occasionally get a decisive. Had an injury last season as to why he had a few dodgy scores. Obviously, one was a 1 minute sub, which I don't see the point of that, to be honest. But yeah, can score quite high. I think the season before last he was much better. Yeah, he was getting a lot more 80s in there and 89s there. But yeah, because you can't get the goalie, and the goalie's going to cost a fortune. You can partner at math up with somebody else, but I mean, you're on this video to see stacks, so there's really not much point in us saying much about him.
Yeah, unfortunately, but good price bracket for him. Just over £3 and rare. Very, very nice for
Yeah.
27-year-old who puts up 15 worth of AA on average when he starts. So, yeah, they're very, very solid. Take it away, matey, with the next team.
Yes, the next team is a team we know almost nothing about because they've never played a game in the MLS. And typically, when MLS teams start, with the exemption of St. Louis when they come through their first season, they usually are awful. St. Louis was the difference. They were actually very good in the first season and awful in the second. But I remember when Orlando and New York entered the league first season, they were both terrible. Orlando was a little bit better, but they weren't great teams. And their keeper is CJ Dos Santos. I know nothing about him really, apart from the fact he played 2 games for Inter Miami, with one being a clean sheet in the cup and one being a 4-0 loss to New York Red Bulls. And for his price point, I'd probably stay clear unless you can pick him up for that last sale of £13.50. It's another one where I'm not really going to be high on San Diego,
He's not even
unfortunately.
guaranteed either. I think a lot of people are pointing that it's Dos Santos because he has started a couple of friendlies, but there is a bit of debate between him and a
Let's have a
couple
look.
of others, I believe. So if you want to just show that or tell them that on Sobre Inside there.
Yeah, so there is 3 goalkeepers in contention apparently. So you've got CJ Dos Santos, Sisaniga, and Jackson. Sisaniga and Jackson at 15% each. Dos Santos at 70. So yeah, there's not really a great deal we can say about him, to be honest. Deke's got him at 70%, so he's probably going to be the starter. Not guaranteed. They have had some. Well, they had a friendly behind closed doors, so we know nothing about that one. It looks like they had a friendly on the 1st of February, which was 5-6 days ago, against Sacramento Republic. Nothing's been published about that one. They play New York on the 8th, so hopefully we get some info there. But yeah, again, not really a great deal we can say, to be honest, unfortunately, about San Diego.
Yeah,
So we'll just swiftly.
what's the third goalie's name as well? Jackson.
Jackson, Sisaniga, and Dos Santos. So
Yeah, because I
Jackson,
heard
Sisaniga.
there was a bit of debate about Dos Santos being the main goalie because he actually stepped on Jackson's mum's foot, and he had to say
What about you? Don't
he
get this information
no
anywhere else,
no
people.
no no
You do not
because
get this information anywhere
no
else.
because you know what he said. I'm sorry, Miss Jackson.
Oh, that's just shocking. Cut that out. Cut that out. Without it there. That's absolutely diabolical.
The fact you took it seriously, like we don't get this info anywhere else.
I thought you said he stood
Yeah.
on Jackson's foot, not me. And then I
No,
realized he said Jackson's mum's foot. I
no,
was like, how's that got to do with anything?
no, right. We're gonna go move. See, we only have fun here on the
Right.
All Around Sorrow podcast. And get your comments in below. Comment, like, and subscribe, guys, please. But yeah, okay.
Because of that
Anyway,
shocking joke by Cap there, I'm going to move on to the
it,
defender because we had different defenders here. So
we all
Cap
have.
went to choose Paddy McNair, obviously moving over from, I believe, the Championship. Was he with Middlesbrough most recently? I only remember him at
I
Middlesbrough.
think
I think he
so.
was Middlesbrough.
Yeah.
So Cap had McNair. I wasn't sure because he played as a midfielder for Middlesbrough, like a holding mid, if he was going to be a defender card. So I went for the next best thing, which was Franco Negri. So Cap unfortunately had to agree with me. Again, not really a good deal we can say. He was a backup at Inter Miami. But when he did feature, he put up some nice scores. So if he's going to be the start of the season, I expect to see some more of these nice 81, 61, 68, high 50 scores from him. Obviously, being a left back as well, good potential for assists. He started 9 games and got an assist last season. So again, I'm not even going to let Cap speak on this one because there's not really anything we can say. He's £3.60, unless you want to get a quick word in.
I'm sorry, Miss Jackson.
Oh, right. Let's leave it. Right. We're moving on. I'm going to move on to Cap's favourite goalkeeper of the lot, I will assume. This is Daniel of San Jose Earthquakes. Looks like he won the battle against JT Marcinowski, I want to say, to take the starting spot. He did take an injury last season, so Yarbrough came in, who's actually been released, so it was kind of irrelevant for me to even say that, to be honest. But moving on. He's £3 in limited and he is £31 in rare, which I think is probably about where I would have him as a price point because San Jose defensively weren't clean sheet keepers, were they, last season? They have great defenders, but they weren't clean sheet keepers. But Cap, this is your team. You love San Jose. You're a big fan of Christian Espinoza. What can you tell me about the goalkeeper? And well, you can move on to the defender as well when you when you want to.
Cool. Well, again, for the price point being £31, again, I think is very, very reasonable. Like you said, because he had Yarborough last season, there was a lot more competition. People say
Yeah.
there's competition this year, which I believe is it Earl or whatever his name is. I can't remember exactly his full name, but there's an older goalkeeper that's come in called Earl, and he's not very highly touted or anything like that. So I would safely assume that Daniel is the starting goalkeeper for the
Earl
remainder of the
Edwards
season.
Jr., by the way.
There we go, Earl Edwards Jr.
Hi, my
Thank
name's Earl.
you. Yeah, again, I just think all around is a solid keeper. I think San Jose last year did concede a lot of goals. Weren't the best of teams either. They were very much like trying to outscore everyone rather than actually play defensively. As you can see here, I'm scrolling through all the results. You can see here, lost 5-1, lost 4-2, 2-1, 6-2, 3-0, 2-0. Like, they conceded a lot of goals. But when Daniel had come back, those goals had come down to pretty much just two a game, which is the most you want to concede, obviously, as a goalkeeper, because you're going to get that negative decisive in the third. 12 AA, 8 AA, 32, 6, 12, 14, 15, 14. Like, he puts up some solid, decent AA considering. And that's obviously one of the pros of being a goalie that faces a lot of shots. San Jose have, I think, recruited really well this so far. I don't actually know all too much if they've brought many defenders in, but they do have solid defenders in. And that defender we actually chose to go alongside this defensive stack is that of Rodriguez. And I know you know a bit more about this guy. Also, we've got him in limited at 90p and in rare for as little as £9, again, which I think is solid for not peak scorer, but a consistent scorer nonetheless.
Yeah, that's right. He'll no longer be £8 though, because I'm just going buying him. I didn't realize he was that low. Oh, he's not. He's not. Oh no, wait a minute. Yeah, must have bought one. And he's now at £15, so I can't buy one. But yeah, Rodriguez is one of my favorite defenders. It's mainly you have to kind of not show his last season scores because of how poor San Jose were, obviously having Yarborough in net. But if you show his all-time scores and you see the season before, that's really good for a defender. You know, it's up there with the Alba and Wagner sort of scores. A lot of 90s showing there and high 80s in spells. So yeah, I'm quite high on Rodriguez, especially for that price point. If you can get him for £8, that's a bargain. I don't know who's just snaked that from me, but I'm really angry at that. Can't lie. So yeah, that's probably up there with Gillespie and Santos for me. I think it's probably, if I had to rank it, probably around about third or fourth.
Value for money, definitely. Yeah, definitely not the
Yeah.
best stack you can get, but in regards to the money you're spending with, what do we say with Daniel's 31? You're picking them up for essentially £40, £42 for the two. So you can't go, you can't ask for too much more. I remember goalies were hundreds of pounds. So yeah, it's definitely solid. So let's quickly, swiftly move on to the next team.
My team.
Your team.
Yeah, I am another stack owner of Seattle, and since I've owned them, they've pretty much become a fan, to be honest. I'm pretty much a Seattle and New York City FC fan. Obviously, starting goalkeeper will be Stefan Fry. He signed a new 1-year deal. I just dropped my mouse on the floor, so we'll pick that up in a minute. But yeah, he signed a new 1-year deal. Again, 12 clean sheets. This is what I would say is probably the best defense in the league. Not so rare scoring wise, but just I mean in general MLS player, I think Seattle are right up there. Yeah, as you can see, last 6, 7, 8 games there, he had 10 games. He had 7 60+ scores, and all of them looked like, well, apart from one with clean sheets. Actually, might have been clean sheets because I think they came in extra time and penalties, 5-4 on penalties, 8-7 on penalties. So I think he did get clean sheets in that. So yeah, I'm very high on Seattle. They've made some nice purchases as well, mainly to the attack though, not really to the defense too much. I think they brought in Kim Ki-hee. I was waiting for a joke there from you, but not one came.
It's Michael Jackson in the room.
Yeah, pretty much. We'll grab that mouse. So yeah, Kim Ki-hee came in. I would assume he's going to be the backup. I think he will be taking Nathan's spot, who they let go on a free. As just a rotational piece. I don't think he'll feature that much. And he is like 38 years old, I think. Do you want to say anything on Fry before I move on to defender?
To be honest with you, it's your team, mate. But I think this is definitely one of the better duos that we can probably show.
Yeah, I'll just put in there now that the pairing that I'm going to show you now with Fry, both 90%, and obviously Fry a bit higher on the price point, but I think that's just because of how good Seattle are. I think you again, like you would do with like a Blake or because he obviously partners Wagner. I think you're paying for the quality
Hmm.
that you get, and I'll show you now the next defender. Partnering up with is Yeimar Gomez Andrade, the GOAT. Well, the GOAT of Colombia. He had a little bit of a down season, to be fair. I'm not gonna lie. The GOAT had a bit of a down season, but still, even if you look at those scores, they're not down season scores. He's just a little bit worse than what he was last season, the season before. As you can see, only 4 decisives. He does usually get a couple of goals from corners, and with that, he had 13. I think is that 13? Yep, 13. No, it's more. It's 17. I can't read. 17, 60 plus scores. Obviously, when he keeps clean sheet, Fry keeps clean sheet, so you get that sort of conjunction there. And when he hits the high score, you're talking like 80 plus, high 70s, 100 there. When he scored a goal, he didn't even keep a clean sheet in that one. He just scored and put up 54 AA. 54 AA. And he got another game there with 52 AA. He's just an animal. I love him to bits. And I've got these in limited and in rare. So yeah, that's how high I am on Seattle. Do you want to say anything about Gomez? Because I know you have bought a Frying Gomez due to my recommendation.
I did indeed, and I think I can show everybody where I bought him, maybe in the rare, just to sort of showboat a bit. But I bought him at the lowest. I bought him for the lowest so far in the last 3 months in rare, which is very very nice indeed, and I can sell him for a nice little profit, £30. So yes, stick around obviously to hear trading advice. Nah, I'm joking, but yeah, no, definitely Yeimar is solid. He's 32 now, so I think with defenders, the more they age, that they become like wine. You know what I mean? Like it's the
In the
better.
MLS.
Yeah, exactly. Especially for the MLS, so like they age like fine wine. So yeah, as long as he's not 36, 37, which he's not obviously 32, which is just solid, solid.
Yeah, and like I said, that's a stack. So Yeimar is just like I said, this is probably the second most expensive. I would say maybe yeah, probably the second. I don't even think Alba and Calendar came to higher than what these two are. So you're looking at about £70 for the pair,
Mm-hmm.
around about.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I just think you're buying quality there. I would rather take these at £70 than Wagner and Blake at the £100. I think these work a bit more in synergy with each other than what they do at Philly. So we're going to move on to, we've had the good ones now, we're moving on to a bad one. John Pulskamp, under 23 until July. Um, yeah, that's probably about his actual only good quality, if I'm being honest.
Mm-hmm.
He's back up last season. He had a couple of really bad games where he had like 4 goals conceded against Columbus, 3 goals conceded against St. Louis. He did have what looks like a last man tackle. I'm going to check that. Yeah, he had a last man tackle which saved him um, against Dallas, give him a nice 60 score. But then, other than that, you've got a nice 50 score there, but he's not great. I wouldn't be surprised if they signed a goalkeeper before the start of the season. This boy in KC, I don't think this guy's good enough to be the star. He's only £2.69. I think that's probably about £1.69 too expensive. But,
Yeah. To be
25 quid. There's much better goalkeepers for like that 20 to 30 quid mark. Obviously, we had on the previous video Guzan. He's around that mark. He's better than Pulskamp. But yeah, go on. What's your thoughts on Big John Pulskamp?
It's going to be difficult for him, isn't it? Because obviously with Sporting KC, he's a vampire. Like Sporting KC is like a vampire's dream because it's so much red. Honestly, it's like all these losses and there's never any green, unless they get like a freak win somewhere. Like there's loads of red.
Yeah.
So Dracula would love this one, but yeah, 25 quid. Um, it feels although it's cheap, it does feel a little steep, and that might be doing him a little bit of disservice because obviously he's only played 7 games in the whole year, being the backup, but now he's going to be obviously the main starter. So who knows? It could be worth a punt if you pick him up for a price around that 22 pound mark. You can't really, but you could go wrong because I mean,
You can definitely go. It can get worse.
yeah, it could get worse to be fair. And I mean, his only real, he hasn't obviously always kept one. No, he didn't. Hasn't even kept a clean sheet. Sorry. So, but obviously that's in 7 games. But who knows? But I mean, I like the defender though. I do actually generally
No,
like
no,
the
I'm gonna
defender.
take this one away because you've made a massive error on this, convincing me to go with this guy. So Cap convinced me to go with this man called Leopold, German left back for Sporting KC. But on check-in, he isn't going to be the starter, which I don't know if Cap did his research, but he is only 25% chance of starting. Yeah, didn't do the research. I knew it. I knew it. So I'm going to go for somebody different, a 50% starter who I went with originally before I got wrongly convinced to change. I'm going for Volodeur, if that's how you pronounce his name. Might have butchered that.
How do you say it? Because I'm trying to bring it up on the screen.
Volodeur, Robert Volodeur.
Ah, yes. This was my main pick.
He's similar scorer to Leopold, but he has got a bigger chance of starting. Um, Again, I would say don't pick up any Sporting KC players unless you're picking up Jovic up front, because they've not really reinforced the back. If you look at his scores, not great. 360s and an 80, and I think they all came from decisives. Oh wow, he had two. He had two last man tackles in the game.
Yeah.
Oh, he had a clearance off the line and the last man tackle in the game, but
Just
then also scored the own
basically
goal.
what we're saying, just stay away from Sporting KC because they're like a
Yeah.
girl, basically, with no ass. Okay, there's no back end to them, there's no defense. All right. I'm joking. Everybody's beautiful
Yeah,
in
they're
their
not
own
good.
right. Yeah, but £3.20 I still think is no good, even for an under 23 utility. So again,
Yeah, he's not £3.23 too expensive. Someone should be paying you to take him on.
exactly. So I'm moving on, and I've just gone straight to St. Louis. Okay, and that's
Yes.
going to be Berkey. Okay, we've gone for Berkey in goal because obviously he's going to be the starter. There was some rumours that he was going to be moving to his native homeland of Switzerland. I can't remember who it was. I think it might have been. Was it Young Boys
Oh,
or
it wasn't
something?
Basel.
No, Basel was his old team, wasn't it? But I swear it was a move to Switzerland. I could be wrong. But yeah, £40 for him again. I'm not all too sure on the price. I don't know if it's because we're cheap bastards, but
That's
40,
deep for me. I
yeah.
think he should be probably down at about 30, in
Now,
my opinion.
now that we've seen obviously people like Elise and things like that, yeah, I think
Yeah.
he's £10 too expensive. But um, puts up some
He's
decent
got
scores.
cardboard for hands.
Yeah, but he puts up some decent scores.
No, but he also
Um,
concedes 4, 4, 5, 4, 4, 4, 3. He's even when he concedes 4, to be fair, he doesn't put up horrendous AA, but he would not be. Again, I wouldn't. He'd be like Pulskamp. I wouldn't touch him with a 10-foot barge pole.
hmm.
I don't think the defender we've got is actually much better, is he?
Well, who is this? So we have gone for Henry Kessler.
Yeah,
Um,
new signing.
40p limited, £1.50 in the rare. To be honest, this guy to me, he's a bit of a boring player. There's nothing
Yeah,
really about him that sort of stands out or sort of like, oh wow, yeah, at least he can do this. Like he's mid 20s, so there's no under 23 utility or any sort of growth. He's not someone who I think's even proven in the past that he's a massive scorer. I've gone all
nope.
time, but there's a few scores in the 80s and 90s, or one in the 90s. But apart from that, in recent times, especially over the last year, 3 decisives in 27, 30 appearances, was if you're including being coming on as a sub for New England. Yeah, bores me a bit.
It is, yeah. And I mean, for the pair, it's like £41, and we've given you so many better options for £41, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think that's just far too high. I think even at £31, if we went with Berkey's price at 30, I still think that's too expensive for this pair. I don't think these are going to win any sort of reward anytime soon, unless Kessler manages to pull up those 80s and 90 scores that he used to get about 3 or 4 seasons ago.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm going to move on swiftly because I think we've had about 3 bad ones on the bounce there. And I'm moving on to a better one, bit more brighter,
Here we go.
more greens. Jonathan Surois, for Cat butchered his name, under 23 until 2025 or July the 1st, 2025. So half a season of under 23 utility.
Mm-hmm.
He isn't cheap. That's the only negative I can really say about him is he isn't cheap. He's £55. Oh, sorry, £57 currently. Last sale was 50.
Yeah.
New card. Last season I don't think he was amazing, but again he does have some high peaks, and I think Montreal have one of the better defenses in the league, which we'll get onto in a minute. But yeah, what do you think? Montreal, we got into the playoffs. What's the prediction for the season? Do you think that he's going to get better or maybe slightly worse?
I think they'll get better. To be fair, they have signed. They've got a good backline now, and I think they've. I don't know if they did a back three last season, but from again, Deek's predictions is that they are going to be a back three with, I believe,
Yep.
Neil, who was what 50-50, one of the defenders we're going for, and also Waterman. So they've got some good players who can actually peak quite well. Scores wise, again, he does quite well in scores. Has those rough few games where they do concede, because when they concede, they concede. Like, it's never just one or two; it's always like three or four or five in this instance against New England at the time. Um, yeah, there's again not all too much to say about goalies. I always find it quite difficult to speak about goalies, but obviously he's that price because he's under 23, um, only for
Are you
midway.
not? Are you not surprised he's not competing for Canada's starting job, considering his competition is Crepeau and Dane Sinclair?
Yeah, that is a bit surprising to be fair, and um, he's only ever been DMPs for Canada. Yeah, you
Like
know,
the third choice, isn't he, for Canada? It's a bit of a
well,
strange one. 'Cause I would probably rate him as high as
yeah,
Sinclair and probably
well,
have him higher than Crepeau,
unfortunately,
to be
Jonesy,
honest.
mate, me or you are not the Canadian manager. Okay, so it doesn't matter. But
If you
if
are Canadian and you want us to start picking the national team, let us know.
yeah, just comment below and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. But yeah, £58 does seem a little steep, but if he was 26 rather than 23 or 33, whatever, he would be, 40, £45. So I think you're paying that
Yeah.
extra because of the under 23, which I do find, to be honest, why under 23s are inflated is only because obviously there's not many of them, but I don't see why either because you're going to want to use them surely in the MLS rather than under 23s. But
Well, you might not,
each to their own.
because this defender that we've got lined up for you, George Campbell, is also under 23 until July the 1st. So
Ah, that was a
we're
nice
giving
little
you an under
segue.
23 duo, an under 23 defensive stack. Now,
Mm.
this guy came into his own near the end of the last season. He started scoring some big scores.
Mm.
I remember that 11 score that he got there. I had him in division rival. Not what's it called? Rivals, was it? It's called Rivals, wasn't it? The game they just
Mm.
got rid of. I had him in for that game, so yeah, I never used him again after that. But at the end of the season, he started picking up his scores, and just like Santos of Orlando from the previous video, he started to have a really good set of scores, which I'm hoping he'll carry into next season. So you've got an under 23 duo, and that is why they are slightly expensive. Campbell's at 15, and what was Sir Royce 54,
Something around that
57,
mark.
wasn't it? So you're looking at paying about 70 for the pair. No, you're not. Yeah, you are. You are looking at paying 70 for the pair. So yeah, it's a bit steep,
Quick
but
maths.
you get 6 months of utility, under 23 utility. Well,
Mhm.
probably about 4 months actually, if we look at it properly. But yeah, I like these two as a pair. Obviously, if the clean sheet comes in, Campbell's there giving you an 80, and Royce is giving you like a 70. That's a really good foundation to build from for the rest of your team. So we'll move swiftly on. I don't know if that is our last good one. Have a feeling that's our last good one. Next
Yeah.
one is a team that's in a bit of shambles. Is Toronto with Sean Johnson. Now, I don't believe he's either definite starter. Can't remember. I'm gonna have a quick look now. Yeah, he's 90% starter, and I can't remember who. Oh yeah, the person we popped him with is only a 70% starter, but we'll get onto that. What do we think of Sean Johnson? It's a no. It's a no from Cap. He's not saying anything, so I'll just go on and say that he's had 7 clean sheets. Um, not great. If I'm being honest, it's probably another one of them that I would probably stay clear of. Toronto have been pretty poor defensively. When you
Mm.
look, yeah, thumbs down from Cap. So they had 1 clean sheet out of the last like 8 games, 2 clean sheets in the last maybe 12 games. It's not a great one, and that would probably be why he's only £20. If you do want a real budget option that you're not going to stack defensively, Sean Johnson is probably up there with Brad Guzan.
To be
Probably
fair
not as
to
good as
him,
Brad Guzan.
exactly. To be fair to him, like he could be just if you're looking to get into in season and you just know goalies aren't reliable, just get the cheapest goalie you can, and it looks like that's going to be someone like Sean Johnson. Um,
Or Brad Guzan. Get Brad Guzan. Don't pick Sean
to
Johnson
be
over
fair,
Brad
Brad
Guzan.
makes more sense, doesn't he? Yeah, but Brad
Yeah.
is 5 years older than him, and Sean's already 35. So I mean, yeah, they're not the best. Well, he's not the best of goalkeepers, I don't think. 6.6 worth of AAs, not very attractive at all. Had a few DMPs there as well. Obviously, that's with the
Yeah.
United States also, but
Oh, how's he got a call up to the United States? I think he's going to retire after the season due to PTSD of the last 2 seasons.
yeah, could well do. But like we struggled again with this for Toronto, even to put him alongside um, his teammate here. We've
Yeah,
gone for Kevin Long.
we have, and he's only a 70% starter, so kind of don't bank on him definitely starting. It's one of them that I don't think anybody in there, yeah, nobody on that back line is a 100% starter or even a 90% starter. So yeah, he's kind of just the best of a bad bunch, to be honest. Sean Johnson, I feel a bit sorry for him because he doesn't really have a lot in front of him. Kevin Long had a few good games though. I mean, a 79 with a goal line clearance or last man tackle. I'll tell you what that was now. It was last man tackle. So 79.5, a couple high 60s, but another low 60 there at the start of the season. Had quite a few DMPs. It's not someone we would advise to go for, but we're doing every single team, and he's basically at £5, the best of a bad bunch. And like Cap said, if you want to get into in season, you can get Johnson for 20. But you probably get him for probably around about 30 or 40. And Kevin Long you probably get for, I can't see him going much higher than 10, to be honest. So, you got a couple of in seasons there for, under 40 quid.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, we'll move swiftly on from Toronto because they're just not great. And I don't think they're going to be much better this season anyway. So this is actually not a bad one. We're finishing, I think. Are we ending it there for this one?
This is the
Yeah, this is
last
the
one.
last team. The last team, people, and these aren't bad.
Nearly there.
This one's a decent one. It's Takoka, former J League keeper, I think he was, for Vancouver Whitecaps. He did okay last season, 10 decisives and 40. It's not horrendous, especially with the amount of goals that go in the MLS. And he did have some nice scores in the 80s there. What's your thoughts on Takoka? Are you a fan or not a fan?
It's a meh for me. It's a sort of
Yeah.
meh, meh, meh.
If I was to
That's
say you could have him for £24, would it be more of a yeah than a meh?
yeah,
Yeah, because that's
yeah,
what his last sale average was 3 days ago, £24. He's now 44, so he has risen.
yeah. Yeah, like I said, he's a bit of an okay player for me. He doesn't really peak all too much, and 10 decisives in 40 games, but that's mixed with 3 errors leading to goals. Not very attractive at all. Um, I like Vancouver. I think their attack is obviously a lot better. That's the majority of the MLS, though, isn't it? I guess they always
Yeah.
heavily outweighed in the attacking side, and defensively they are shambles. And if defense, like, did you want to talk about the defender? Well, we have to talk about the defender. Do you want to move on, or
Yeah.
you wanted to talk
Yeah, I
about?
can do.
Yeah, yeah,
He's
yeah.
my pick, isn't he? You picked somebody else. I think you picked Veselinovic, and I've gone for Laborda because he's a bit younger. Laborda's okay. Again, there's not really a great deal you can say about him. He does have some really bad down scores in the 20s, but I think a couple come from subs.
Yeah.
Yeah, a couple have come from subs, but again, he had 6 decisives in 29 games. It's not too bad for a defender. Did peak up at 93 and 91. Let's have a quick look at those. He had an assist on one of those, and looks like a last man tackle. Yeah, last man tackle on the other. So yeah, he can hit the peak scores. He's not old. I think he's suitable if you want to partner him up with Takoka. It's not awful at all. It's probably one of the middle of the road sort of picks. Because he can peak, and his last sale was £1.32 in rare.
To
But he's
be
now at £4.
to be fair, just want to butt in. Like, if Takoka does come down back to 25 mark, and you
Yeah.
can get this guy for £4, you can get them both for £30. I think that's a good value for money pick right there.
Yeah.
I feel like because Laborda does peak, it's the exact same as Takoka as well. Like, he has those odd games where they peak. They probably peak together as well because they're probably heavily incentivized or pushed with a clean sheet, and in which case then obviously both will gain that outcome. So yeah, there could be a nice little budget pick for people who are looking for almost like an entry level thing, as opposed to Colorado and Sporting Kansas. I think out of those, sort of the bottom echelon of the goalies and defenders we've been talking about, the stacks, it's probably the best out of the bad bunch, I would say.
Yeah, I agree. And if you can get Laborda for £1 again, and you get Takoka for 24, you pay £25 for the duo. That's nothing to shy away from. That's a really good value pick.
Definitely. Well, that is everything. We have finally got to the end of it, guys. But Jonesy, did you need to say anything, my friend, or shout anyone out?
No, yeah, thank you to you guys for Cap for coming on. Because I asked him to do this, it wasn't the other way around. Cap will be doing something where he ranks all these on his own channel, which I might be featuring on. I don't know yet. He's not asked me, so we'll see what happens there.
You will be.
So yeah, go and check that out. it'll pop it up on the screen for you. And I just thank you to Deke for all his predictions. I know he works very hard on the non-Sora inside. So yeah, that's where we got all of our sort of kind of got all of our picks from, based off the percentages that they'll play. So yeah, other than that, thank you guys for watching. Anything you want to say?
Yeah, I
Right
just
off.
want to say, guys, if you did enjoy this video, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And also, if you like this, you got to hit the like because it shows us that you like the content. And also, we could possibly do this with an attacking duo or a midfielder attacking combo. What's the best within the MLS? There's nothing that stops us in all around So Rare. So make sure, again, guys, subscribe to the channel. Check the all around So Rare Twitter or X, if you however you want to call it. You can see on screen at all around So Rare. I've been So Rare Capital. I've joined by So Rare Jonesy, and we are out, guys. Peace.
Peace.